So today we're going to dive into something really fascinating, the teachings of a very old, very specific mystical tradition. We're going to explore their detailed instructions on how a person can, supposedly, become invisible.
I mean, come on, who hasn't? It's the ultimate fantasy, right? From classic sci-fi to modern fantasy, that power to just become unseen, it's this deep-seated desire that pops up in our stories and myths all the time. But what if I told you it wasn't just a fantasy? According to one particular Rosicrucian text, invisibility isn't some kind of unobtainable superpower. No, they claim it's a specific alchemical technique, a skill that can actually be developed. Okay, so let's get into it. The source material kicks things off by pointing out just how common this whole idea is, especially in folklore and fairy tales, and they see that as a really important clue. You see, the text notes that in all these stories, invisibility can be used for good or it can be used for evil. But here's the interesting part. It's never an accident. It's always achieved through some kind of secret knowledge, a charm, a potion, an incantation, and that implies it's a technique that has to be learned. So now let's see how this idea builds from just folklore into the actual teachings of this tradition, because we're not just talking about fairy tales anymore. We're talking about what they claim is a real historical lineage of practitioners. The source claims that all throughout history, certain highly developed individuals, they call them initiates, actually had this ability. And they didn't use magic rings or cloaks, but a very specific mystical method to create what's described as an alchemical cloud. And just look at this list. This is where you see the tradition they're tapping into. The source is saying this isn't some new age idea, but a secret knowledge that's been passed down through the ages by some of the most famous mystics, philosophers, and even religious figures in history. Okay, so what is this alchemical cloud anyway? Well, the source is very, very clear on what it isn't. This isn't science fiction or some kind of stage magic. It's a specific psychic phenomenon, and it has its own set of rules. And this is a really crucial distinction they make. The Rosicrucian technique is all about creating a temporary psychic veil that just hides the body. This is completely different from what they call dematerialization, which they describe as the irreversible disintegration of your body into particles, a process that, they say, absolutely cannot be undone. And they don't mince words here. The source specifically warns against any other schools of thought that might confuse the two. They call teachings about physical dematerialization for things like astral travel not only false, but actively dangerous. Their method, they insist, is purely psychic. So if you're not, disintegrating, then how is this supposed to work? Well, the text lays out a very precise step-by-step experiment. Now, before we get to the steps, there's a key component, a specific word, mathram. According to the text, this word is meant to be intoned, spoken softly, to condense what it calls spirit energy from the space around you to form the cloud. Okay, let's walk through this process. First, you concentrate your psychic consciousness on your eyeballs until you feel some kind of sensation, a tingling or warmth. Then you pick a spot a few meters in front of you and you start to condense energy to that point while intoning mathram. Once a whitish haze appears, you physically step into it. From inside this cloud, you keep attracting more energy by intoning the word 9 more times. And if it works, when you open your eyes, you'll be inside the cloud, totally invisible to anyone outside it. The text is also really specific about what you should feel. A successful experiment is supposedly accompanied by a pleasant warmth or coolness, and this strong sense of both physical and psychic regeneration. You yourself will actually be able to see the cloud from the inside, which makes your immediate surroundings kind of hazy. But here's the real twist, and this is what I find so fascinating. The source claims that becoming physically unseen isn't even the most important part of this whole exercise. The true goal is something else entirely. But first, a little reality check. The text is very upfront that this is one of the most difficult experiments an initiate can even attempt. Success is rare. It requires immense concentration. But that difficulty, well, that actually points to the real purpose. And there it is, the real purpose. According to this text, the ultimate goal isn't physical invisibility at all. It's about spiritual attunement. The very act of trying the experiment is this powerful exercise that connects the practitioner to a higher state of awareness. So here's the crucial point. You can't really fail. According to the text, even if you don't create a visible cloud, the practice itself has these incredibly positive effects. It helps your psychic development and contributes to your inner awakening.
The process is the reward. Which leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? The text starts with this fantastic, almost unbelievable physical feat, but it ends on a deeply profound inner journey. Maybe the real secret technique isn't about hiding our bodies from the world, but about revealing our deeper consciousness to ourselves.